Oh my God, this is too good. This is too good. Because just when you thought that we had our arms wrapped around this boxing Olympic situation where you had someone and it was like, is this a dude or is this a lady? And it's like, gosh, I don't know. We just can't figure it out. But one thing I do know is that I'm going to be upset either way, because if I think it's a lady, then I hate all these people who say it's not a lady. And if I think it's a man, then obviously the whole thing is aggravating no matter what. And I also really can't stand these people just pretending like they know that it's a lady. So all that's ensured is that everyone is angry. But then today, the ultimate twist, the absolute ultimate twist that is going to be the most beautiful thing ever for the people who are like, dude looks like a dude. Okay. So the one that we've been discussing is not the only athlete in the Olympic boxing who failed the XY chromosome test and was kicked out of international boxing. There's two of them. The one we've been talking about is in the 66 kilograms and under, and the other one is in the 57 kilograms and under. And you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you. What is it? Well, guess what, guys? The other one has guaranteed a medal now too. They've both advanced to the medal round. Okay? So unbelievably, when the Olympics started, none of us knew any Olympic boxers at all on the girls' side, like zero. None of us knew a single one, except for maybe if we read this little story about them being allowed to box when they had failed a gender, thing, and they had been kicked out of international play, and they're all the woke IOC is going to just let them box anyway. And their explanation is, it says female on their passport. And you're like, all right. And by the way, I am going to make an argument that is going to end this conversation once and for all, regardless of where they land on the spectrum. And I have to at least acknowledge Gabrielle's contribution to that, because we just did a video about this on Play with Matches, our other channel, and she said something and I went, bam, I got it, dude. But first, let's just go through the story, because the opponent who lost to the other one, Lin Yu-ting, who is from Taiwan, after the boxing match, she went up and she threw up a double X, because she's like, I am an XX lady, unlike my opponent who just beat me up, who is an XY. Just something to notate. And all these people talking about the intersex thing, guess what, dude? Guess what? I'm going to destroy your argument there. Even if the two people in the conversation have vagines. Like, even if you pull them down and you're like, oh, wow, that is a lady. It's like, yeah, but does that mean for sure they should be competing against ladies in the Olympics? Does it? So let's talk about all of that. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet to get all the hard-hitting news. If I talk about, a conspiracy to assassinate a president, you get really serious Jesse on Fire. If I talk about some MMA stuff, sometimes it's serious. When I talk about the utter absurdity of the world, right, in situations like this that are just like, all you can do is just laugh. You just laugh. You're like, oh. So there's two dudes and you're not going to believe this. They're undefeated. They are both undefeated into the medal rounds. It's somehow they keep beating these women in a combat sport. Jeez Louise. So let's just, read about this real quick. So another wrinkle has been added to the ongoing gender controversy in the Olympic boxing ring. Taiwan's Lin Yu-ting, who has been scrutinized for her participation in the Olympics, along with fellow boxer Imane Khelif of Algeria, beat Bulgaria's Svetlana Staneva in the quarterfinal match of the Olympic 57 kilogram category on Sunday morning, ensuring she will at least win a bronze medal. Now, I just want to point out, I don't understand how that works. I read that last night in the other story, and I was like, and then today I'm like, how did that guarantee they're going to win a bronze medal? There's another semifinal. Like, what if they lose in the semifinals? Didn't they have a third place match? Anyway, okay, so the Bulgarian made two X symbols with her index fingers after the bout, which seemingly referred to female chromosomes. Right. Now, I just want to take you down to this really quick, because this is very, very, very important. Okay? So, all of the Trust the Science crowd put on your mask and do the right thing. Protect your fellow man by putting on your mask and losing your job and going bankrupt. Those people who have been on X gloating all week as if we all jumped the gun. You jumped the gun, dude. It's a lady. Say you're sorry. Spreading misinformation. Boo, 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 boo. All right. Well, so here are some factual facts, bulletproof. Factual facts for you guys, which is what we were basing our opinions on. And you can go ahead and cope all you like for this, just go ahead and cope. But here, why don't you read this part? Both Yu-ting and Khelif have been at the center of a gender identity clash after many have brought to light their disqualification from the 2023 World Championships for failing gender eligibility tests and were banned by the International Boxing Association. IBA President Umar Kremlev said at the time that the athletes' DNA tests proved they had XY chromosomes. Okay. So tell me again that we're conspiracy theorists when we said, like, dude looks like a dude. You know what I mean? So when we were outraged that a person who had been banned from international boxing for having XY chromosomes was pulverizing girls, that we're the bad guys. Hey, you guys are the bad guys. All right, Well, let's see how your ladies feel. How would your lady feel if you punched her in the face, right? RG3. And now let's just hear this bulletproof counter argument from the IOC, and then we'll discuss. However, the International Olympic Committee, which has different eligibility tests, not any eligibility tests, has banished the IBA from the Olympics, having defended the two boxers as females. After numerous questions over Khelif, the IOC spokesperson, Mark Adams, said, the Algerian boxer was born female, was registered female, lived her life as a female, boxed as a female, and has a female passport. Okay, so born female, how do you define that? How do you define that? Was registered a female, where? Okay, lived her life as a female, how do you know? Boxed as a female, we've established that. And the most bulletproof evidence of all, has a female passport. Got him! Got him, guys. Female passport. Female passport. Now, I'm just going to play devil's advocate here. Have you ever heard of a very enlightened parent in the United States, right? Like I've heard there are these people who are very enlightened and they convince their children that maybe they want to be the other gender. And then they dress them up as the other gender and then they live as the other gender. That's a thing that happens in the United States. That's not up for debate, That is absolutely a thing that happens. Now, I think it's fair to say that a lot of that comes from the brainwashing that social media has done and, intentional kind of Chinese propaganda to break the brains of Americans. But nonetheless, it is a thing that happens. So in a situation where you have someone who has been accused of testing as a man genetically, and telling me that, on their passport, it says they're a female, or like, listen, they lived as a female, they're registered as a female. Color me not convinced, Like, I really hate to get into the science, but you crazy people, the crazies over there have convinced me that I can't trust anything like that because there are crazy parents who are just like, yeah, you're a girl, And if it looks like a man, talks like a man, maybe it's a man. So when I hear that they got a test and they failed it, it's an interesting point, right? But again, and if there's any more evidence needed than this, right, that it's just, it's circumstantial, but pretty strong circumstantial evidence that both of them, neither of them is lost in the box, and they've just dominated the competition. It's so crazy. Who could have predicted that? Everyone. So now let me tell you, I'm going to wrap this up with my argument against allowing let's say female or intersex people who have a vagina but have internal testes or whatever. I learned a little bit about this, that like that's somehow what have, so their testosterone is heavily elevated because they actually do have internal testes that act as testes in their body. And so they have a ton of testosterone, and that's why they look like a man, and they're strong like a man, and they're fast like a man. They're not cheating. They're not taking juice, but they have testosterone like a man does, even though they have a vagine. Now, here is my argument related to that, okay? Why is there a women's division? Why does that exist? Well, so the women can compete against each other. We can find out who the best woman in the world is. Right. And what does the men's division determine? Well, it determines who the best in the world is. Right. The men's division is to find out who the best in the world is at any given sport. The women's division is to find out who the best in the world is that does not have the advantages genetically that men have. Okay. They are operating at a massive genetic disadvantage. Period. They are. Okay. Now, listen, men are absolute dimwits in lots and lots and lots of categories that don't involve running, jumping, kicking, and punching. Okay. Lots of them. Women are better at lots of things, but punching things hard ain't one of them. There are lots of girls that can punch things real hard, but when you take the elite men and compare to elite women, that's not a comparison, and that is why the women's division exists. So the entire purpose of it being there is to keep people out who have a male genetic advantage. So if a person has a genetic disorder where they were born with a vagine, but they have all of the advantages of a male, that's not fair for them to be in that division. Now, it's a completely different conversation than the one that we're normally having, since somehow society has turned that conversation into like one that like makes sense to people. They're all, why not have a bearded lady that's pregnant? Huh? Why not? You're all, why not? They're all, let them live however they want. I mean, geez, Leah Thomas, don't tell her that she is not a real woman. You're all, I mean, she has a fully intact unit, you know? Fully intact unit, and as I hear, is attracted to women, and yet your way of dealing with this thing that's happening is you force the girls on the team to change in front of this person, and you force them to lose in the pool to this person, and if they complain because they feel uncomfortable about what was formerly a straight man 11 seconds ago staring at them bending over in the locker room, they're 18 years old, then what they need to do is they need to go to counseling to learn not to be transphobic. That really happened. It's clown world. It's clown world. So you wokesters created that environment to where, yeah, we might be a little quick on the gun sometimes. You know, if we hear, oh, the Olympics are letting in this person who, you know, genetically tested as a man, and they're going into combat sport to beat up girls. Yeah, we're going to be pretty quick on the draw to be like, are you fucking serious? This? And they're like, oh my God, see, you jumped the gun. You're all, gee, I wonder why. Do you remember when there was a similar situation with that athlete? Like, I think it was a track athlete like 10 years ago. Wasn't quite as big of a deal then, was it? You know, like you didn't try to turn all of our children into like, you know, oh, your boy is definitely a girl now. Your girl is definitely a boy. Just get him on the hormones. It's fine. It's just a little pause in puberty. You just pause their puberty. You're all right. Could you tell us a little bit more about the drugs? They're all, well, nah. You're like, why not? I mean, like, how do these drugs work? They're like, well, you know, you're like, is that on label? Is that what they were made to do? You know, puberty blockers? Is that what they were actually created to do? They're all, not exactly. It's a little bit off label. So tell me what they were created to do. Well, they were created to chemically castrate, sexual predators. You're all, I'm sorry, did you just say chemically castrate sexual predators? That's exactly what I said. Mm-hmm. And you think giving that to children makes sense. Well, yes, it pauses puberty. And what are the long-term studies around what happens if you do that for 4 or 5 years and then you change your mind and then just go through it just turns right back on. Really? It turns right back on. Oh, yes, with no impact. Yes. Well, see, here's the thing. I know a little bit about this, because I know that if you supplement testosterone and it shuts down your natural testosterone production, and let's say you did that for 4 or 5 years straight, if you're telling me that just turns right back on, that's a fucking lie. That's not true at all. It's not even remotely true. So I'm wondering how drugs that would shut down your natural hormone production to the point where it actually never turned on, explain to me exactly how that's just going to kick on naturally when a person who has regular testosterone production goes and supplements it themselves for a year even, and then when they go off, theirs does not work for a very long time, and they usually have to take drugs to make it turn back on. So walk me through how someone who's never had their hormones work ever are just going to stop taking them, and bam, they're just going to go through puberty. What do you take us for, man? Well, the truth is we don't really know. Yeah, I know you don't know. So what are you doing? Well, we don't want to be transphobic. Okay. You don't think it has anything to do with the pharmaceutical companies that are going to make, they've done the math and they're like, get them on puberty blockers. And then once they have the surgery, they're going to have to do this, this, and this. Listen, we're talking millions. Every single transgender kid, we're talking about $4 million lifetime value. $4 million. And look, right now we're tracking at about a 12%. If we can really kick things up, 12%, that's 35 million Americans at 4 million a pop. Can you do that math? Huh? Can you do that math? You're all, hey, can you do the math of how many millennia each of us are going to spend in hell if we do this? I'm sorry, what? You heard me. Oh, we sacrifice children to the devil, man. We know that's where we're going. And as a matter of fact, this is just kind of right in line with what we do. Sacrifice children, But sacrifice them for money this time, not necessarily to please our, Southern realm deities. Ball doesn't have anything to do with this one. This one's just about money. This video is off the rails. All right. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Bye-bye.